Now this step is optional. We don't have to finish our Tanchong square with the border, but if you want to do one, we can do one with simple single crochets, which we have not done in this pattern yet. Notice how we've only done magic ring, chaining, and double crochets so far. But single crochet is even easier than double crochets, so should be no problem there. So how we're gonna start off, and first of all, I made this green round 4 off camera, and we finished with round 3, but any round 3 and above, you just follow the same steps. So with finishing a border, the rule of thumb that we can follow is to create a starting chain, this time consisting of chain 1. So notice that difference in any double crochet. So a couple of different things here. Instead of chain 2, it's now chain 1 because it's single crochet. And instead of a gap, we're working inside of a double crochet stitch, which is that V at the top of the stitch. So as you can see, this is a cluster of 3 double crochet, and then every double crochet stitch at the top, that is its corresponding V. So this middle one, that is its V. This first double crochet, this is that V. We can create a starting chain consisting of chain 1 in any of these V's. So let's just start here. I'm going to insert my hook. So starting chain, if you remember, is poking and inserting your hook through that V, creating a loop, latching it onto your hook, securing it with your middle and index finger, pulling through to the front, and then pulling through. And then we're going to triple knot it. We insert in our double crochet. So that's the tail. We want to keep that in the back. Yarn over, bring it to the front, chain 1, not 2, because we are only doing single crochet for the border. We just did our starting chain, so along the edges, we are going to do 1 single crochet in every double crochet V. And for the corners, we're going to do 4 single crochets in a row in the corner gap. So going back to our work, we're going to work in each of these V's. I'm gonna let my camera focus. And you can kind of already see them. There's like a gap in them, which is a nice indicator of where to hook through or insert your hook. So with this tail that I'm gonna leave in the back, I'm gonna work a single crochet in every one of these V's. So let's rewind a bit. A single crochet as a refresher. You're going to, unlike a double crochet, you're not yarning over. You're gonna go right into the V, insert your hook, yarn over, bring it to the front. You should have 2 loops, yarn over, bring it through both. Let's focus. There you go. So this V you see in the front, and this V you see on the top, that is a single crochet. So we do that in every single one of these V's along the edge until we get to the corner. Now I'm gonna do a slight modification of this. So what I like to do for every double crochet that is adjacent to an edge gap, instead of going inside of this double crochet, I'm actually gonna go inside of the gap. So going inside the gap, not the double crochet, I yarn over, and then when I bring it up, I'm gonna give it a little bit more height to make it parallel with the single crochet we just did. So this one should be longer than this one, but only for every time we do that in an edge gap. Then yarn over, go through both loops. This single crochet, notice how it's taller than this double crochet, but both of them are still the same distance away from the green row. That's because I allowed for more of a loop on my hook before I pulled through both of those loops. So what this does for me is that it adds a nice variety of height for this border. There's no problem doing it in every double crochet. I just like to work in the gap because, as the pattern shows, that little extra height in every edge gap just adds some nice depth to otherwise what would be just a simple single crochet. So at every edge gap, you're doing a single crochet in the gap instead of the double crochet V, and that just adds a little bit of height. You can do it either way. What's pictured here is what I'm doing in this video. It's adding a little bit of height by going into the gap instead of the V. So continuing our work and not forgetting about the tail that we're working into the back, we're gonna continue. So this cluster, we're gonna do it normally. So just making sure that we're catching this. It's getting kind of small, so this might be the last stitch I work the tail into. yarn over, bring it to the front, yarn over, complete the single crochet. Now, this has gotten so small, I don't even think I need to snip this. I think I'll just leave it. We're now at the last double crochet in this cluster. So we're still gonna do it normally. This edge gap situation, I'm gonna do that for every first double crochet in a 3 double crochet cluster. And then the remaining 2, I'm gonna work in the V's. For the first double crochet, instead of working into this V, I'm working into the gap to add that nice extra height. Without yarning over, for single crochet, I'm going in the gap, not the V, yarning over. And this is the part where I'm adding more height. I'm pulling up more height, but trying to keep it parallel with the rest of these. So not going too far up. Notice how I'm going above the rest of these blue single crochets. I want to keep it so that it's parallel and the same height as the rest of them. Yarn over, pull through both. You'll see that this single crochet has a much greater height than the other 2 and the others in this row, but it's still pretty parallel and uniform in terms of height away from the row before it, this green row. We're going to do the same thing. Now we're at the last cluster before we get to the corner gaps. Insert your hook, yarn over again, go through both. One last double crochet right here in this V. Insert your hook, yarn over and go through both. So this was the last double crochet in this cluster and the last cluster in this row so far. So now that we're at the chain 2 corner, as our pattern says, our rule of thumb is to do a cluster of 4 single crochets in the corner gap. I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to scoot this cluster as far to the right as I can, because as you can see, that first double crochet stitch right here, sometimes it can get buried underneath this cluster of 4 single crochets. So that's why I like to pull it to the right, because this can easily get lost. Now along the edges, we're starting an edge again. Do 1 single crochet in every double crochet V at the top. We're now working in the V's. 1 single crochet in this V, 1 single crochet in the middle of the 3, and 1 single crochet in the last of the 3. Now with my modified pattern, this is the first double crochet of an edge gap. So we're working in the gap instead of that V right here. So working in the gap, I'm gonna insert my hook, yarn over. This one is special, right? We're gonna pull over a little bit more, but keeping it parallel to the rest of these. And that looks to be good. So let's yarn over and go through both. And just take a second to admire your work. It is greater in height than the other ones, but still the same height in terms of how tall it is up against the green row. So that's looking pretty good. Now we can do the middle one, which is this one. And then the last of the 3 is this one right there. So inserting our hook, yarning over again, going through both. This is the tail from our last row. We're going to tuck this and leave that behind. And then we are at another edge gap. So the modified version is going in the gap, yarning over, pulling up a little bit higher, yarning over, and pull through both loops. So now we're going to do the middle of the 2 double crochets in the cluster, working our green tail behind to weave it through as we work. And then the last double crochet, we're going to work a single crochet. We are at the first double crochet of an edge gap again, so going in the gap instead of the V, yarning through and pulling up more than we normally would, yarning over again, and pull through both loops. We have 2 more V's to work in before we have a corner. So let's insert single crochet, insert single crochet. Now we have the corner and the tail we're weaving in at the end. Pattern says to do 4 single crochets, so let's do 4. 1, 2, into the gap, switching it to the right, 3, 4. And now we finish the corner, we're rotating our work and we're working along this edge now. Remember, it's easy to lose the very first double crochet. So for the first one, right after the corner, we're gonna work into the V like normal. Since we're not at an edge yet, we're not gonna do that special one. Just got a low battery warning, don't mind me. single crochet like normal, do it in the second of the third of this cluster, and then the last. Work in the gap instead of the V. Yarn over, pull up a little bit higher, yarn over, complete that single crochet, go in the middle of the 3 double crochets to work in a single crochet, and again for the third. We reached another edge, go in the gap, pull up a little bit more, yarn over, go in the middle one, and the last one. So you get the gist. I'm going to continue doing it. If you feel like you're ready to secure this yarn into the starting point, go ahead and skip ahead. Otherwise, you can go ahead and watch along as I finish the rest of this corner and the last remaining edge. So we're doing single crochet. This is an edge gap, so we're doing it inside of this gap instead of the V. Glad I just caught myself just now. And then normal single crochets in the V. We're done with that edge. Now we're doing the corner, 4 single crochets in the gap. 1, 2, scooting it to the right. Adjusting my tension. 3, and see that it's going to be covered if I continue, so I'm going to scooch it to the right. And then our 4th and final one for this corner, 4. Work it normally. 1, 2, 3, and then we have our special edge gap situation. Go in the gap, not that V. Pull up a little bit more than usual. Yarn over, complete that single crochet. Then back to normal for the middle, and again for the last double crochet of this cluster. We are at an edge gap again, pulling up a little bit more than we normally would. Completing, and back to our regularly scheduled programming with single crochet in the middle and single crochet in the last of the cluster. We're at the edge gap again, so again, going in the gap instead of the first double crochet V, pulling up more than normal, yarning over, back to regular single crochets for the middle, and last double crochet of this last cluster. Now we're at the corner, rotate our work. We're doing 4 single crochets. 1, 2, scooch it back, 3, 4. And if you forgot about that tail we had earlier, and I sure did, I feel like we worked it into the square a decent length. I think I worked it in like all the way around here, so we can probably snip this off. I think I forgot about it because it got so small, so it stopped catching behind my work. And notice when we do that carrying over of the yarn behind our work, look how, this is the back of our work. Look how neat it is. Normally, if we didn't do that, we'd have like all of these tails just like dangling from our work, kind of like our magic ring tail. And this one I've secured, you can kind of see it peeking through the back of our work, which is fine. No one's gonna see it from the front. I'm gonna snip this off. And with this technique, look how neat the back of our work is. And then at the very end, we're gonna weave that in. Going back to the front, we are almost at the very first starting chain of our round. We are at our first cluster after a corner. We'll work single crochet in that first double crochet, in the middle, and the last one of that cluster. Awesome. A question that I still have today, I always ask myself, am I done? Do I have to do one here? And the answer is, take a look at the other rows. So I see that there's usually 1, 2 single crochet, and then a big one. 1, 2, big one. 1, 2, corner. So looking here, what do we do for the very beginning? Let's work our way backwards. Big one, 1, 2, big one, 1, 2. Big one is missing. So we're missing one big single crochet that I'm gonna work into this gap here. So going into the gap itself, not the V, yarning over, pulling it up a little bit more than usual, yarning over, complete. Now we are done because I just did the first double crochet into the gap, and then we have our starting chain, which is this V right here, and then the V next to it, that is the third double crochet, the last of the cluster. So this single crochet acts like the one for this. This kind of wonky looking one is our starting chain belonging to the middle one, and then this one has that one. Instead of going into the starting chain, I'm actually going to go into the first normal looking single crochet. You know, in our rounds, we always slip stitch into the first double crochet, not the starting chain. Same thing with our border. Don't do the foundation chain, do the first single crochet in this case. So I see that that is this one right here, that V right here. So adjusting my tension, I'm going to go into that first single crochet right there. I yarn over, pull through from back to front, continue pulling through the existing loop on my hook, and there we go, slip stitch. And then as always, chaining one to secure our work. And then here we are going to snip, pull through, and then we have our square. The only thing left to do is to weave in our ends. So we have our darning needle, we have the eye. What I'm going to do is to make a loop, pull it down against the needle so it's pretty taut, push my thumb upwards, and then slip my needle out. And so between your fingers, you have a pretty tight fold of the yarn, and you're going to do that to slip it back into the eye of the needle. And so you can see it jutting out of the needle. With your fingers, try to grab as much of the yarn as you can until you have every strand of the yarn through the eye of your needle. We have the back of our work facing us. What I like to do is for the first weaving in, I like to go through these horizontal bars because I'm going down through this towards the center of the work. So any horizontal bar I can find will do. I see one here, I'm gonna go through that one. And then I see this green one over here, I'm gonna go through that one. And then I feel like that's good enough just to get us away from the border. And then when you pull through, make sure you're not pulling so tight that it ends up warping the nice flat part of the border. So just enough where if you flip over to the other side, see how it kind of like caves in? You wanna adjust it so that it doesn't do that. So use your fingers, just gently adjust it so that it looks pretty flat. And then going back over here, we secured it one way. What would be even better is to secure it other ways so that even if it stretches that way, it still locks in place if we secure it in many different directions. Right here, in this cluster, in the back, I'm gonna go in from the right towards the left. And just make sure that you're not catching anything that is visible from the front. So I don't see my needle anywhere, that's good. Yarn through. Gently tug, just enough so that it's taut but not warping the front of our work. And then again, from left to right. Pull that through, just enough so that it is secure, but not super tight. And in the front, we can't see it, which is great. What we did, we secured it down, we secured it right to left, and then left to right. Doing it in 3 different directions is to be safe and have it be secure. And so we're gonna take our needle out, get our scissors, and then I'm gonna snip it just so there's like maybe like a millimeter of leeway, just in case there is some stretch, so maybe like a centimeter actually. So in case it does stretch or move a bit, it's not gonna unravel. There's still a little bit of leeway, but yet it is not visible from the front. Yeah, take a second to admire the border. Everything looks pretty good. That is a Danchong square. You can use any of the colors, play around with the colors, get creative. If you wish, you can make it as big as you want, make it a blanket, connect them. There are ways to stitch Danchong squares together using a slip stitch or a mattress stitch. There are tons of tutorials on YouTube, but I hope you enjoyed this, and thanks so much for attending my workshop and learning how to crochet with us.